We're joined now by two guests. Luis Gutiérrez is a Democratic congressman from Illinois. He endorsed Hillary Clinton last year. Danny Glover is an actor, an activist who's endorsed Bernie Sanders. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Luis, I'd like to start with you. If you could expound a little bit about what you think last night meant, especially after the official nomination of Hillary Clinton and President Clinton's speech.
Well, Amy got me at a very exciting moment. I was sitting with the Illinois delegation, and Vermont had passed on issuing their votes for the presidency. Then they came back, and then I got to witness firsthand, looking up to the Vermont delegation, Bernie Sanders, unify our party and close the nomination process, and basically by acclamation say that Hillary Clinton's the nominee of the Democratic Party. And you know, my daughter Omaida, we're like those mixed families of Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. It was good, you know, brought her to the convention. We came as a family, and we're going to leave as a family. We want to work to make sure that immigrants can come out of the shadows, and if there's anything that we've demonstrated strength on in unity is around that issue. $15 an hour, it's in the platform, something we're going to work for. I mean, as you look at yesterday, for my daughter, I think of my mom, one. I think of sterilization and Puerto Rican women, and that was it, right? Either you had a lot of children and you never had control over your bodies, or there was sterilization. You know, we're going to protect Planned Parenthood, we're going to protect a woman's right to choose. And I saw a woman break the glass ceiling yesterday. So for my mom and for my daughters, for my sister, for all the little girls and all the grown women, it was really an exciting night yesterday to see us break that glass ceiling. And now we have much work to do in order to continue to unify our party.
And Danny, you campaigned for Bernie Sanders. Your feelings in terms of his decision that he thought that the most important thing was to defeat Donald Trump in November?
Well, I think one of the things we all felt the most important thing to do was to defeat the Republican nominee, whoever it was. It just so happens to be we had our worst nightmare in Donald Trump. But I'm thinking about what brought many people, young people, others who may have been disenchanted with the political system and electoral process back to this moment where we are now. And that's the fact that we had the possibility of igniting a movement and being part of a movement which is much larger than an election. Now, I know that's a lot of the rhetoric that's been said by Sanders' camp and everything else. And there's so many things that the campaign touched on, and certainly issues around Palestinian rights, issues around poor people. You know, as I walked around this city and watched all the homeless men and women, families, people out on the street, maybe they should have been in that moment yesterday. And maybe they should have been there, as their physical presence was a testimony to what the work that we need to do. We had to continue to remind ourselves that it's a movement that we're building. It's not simply to vote for this particular first woman as the president of the United States. But I think that's the most thing, the most important thing for us to come out of this with. And hopefully we do come out of this with. I sat there in that hall when Bernie laid the news on everybody, gave everybody his come to Jesus moment. We got to go with Hillary. And I watched those young people, and a number of us stood by, myself, Susan Sarandon, and others, consoling those young people who had come out for the first time, who had now expressed their willingness to be participants in the rescue of this country and humanity. And here they were right now, feeling lost in everything else. And we had to tell them that this is about this movement that we're building, that you're a part of. We've been around here for many, many years and many movements, but it's critical that you stay engaged. It's critical that you question. It's critical that you fight back and to talk about the real issues. You know, one of the issues that we've tried to get Bernie Sanders to talk about so much is the issue of race. You cannot talk about this country without talking about slavery and race and everything as what is meant to capitalism. You know, and there's been so much work written about this and everything. And once we begin to insert that And certainly Black Lives Matter, other groups, the color of change, all those are talked about, the race in connection to capitalism. And we cannot lose sight of that. That has to be at the forefront. Not only that, but women and immigrants have to be at the forefront of this issue.
And don't you feel, or do you feel, Hillary Clinton can do that?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, I sat up here, and I don't know. I don't know if we push her to the wall. Can we push her to the wall? You know, does she and herself, can we push her enough? I know what the past has been. You know, it's easy to talk about our children and not talk about, you know, Libyan children or Afghani children or Syrian children or all that. It's easy to talk about our children in some sort of rhetorical way, in some sort of way, but not to talk about our children's relationship to all children, you know, and everybody, and the world itself, and making the world itself a place that's sustainable for all of us. Or there's so many things that climate.
Congressmember Gutierrez.
We're missing a very key point there. That is that now we have a democratic platform which are our guiding principles. And almost everything you've spoken about is now in that democratic platform. We sat down with the Bernie Sanders folks at the drafting committee, and we argued and we pushed back and forth. Bernie Sanders says, and it is recognized almost universally, this is the most progressive democratic platform ever written.
I'm not arguing about that.
No, but
I don't think we're missing the point. We know what a platform is. Come on.
Danny,
we act on. Look here, sir.
Danny, I listened to you patiently without interrupting you.
Okay,
and I would just like an opportunity, just so that we could have a space here where you and I could talk about this as we move forward. Look, in the Democratic platform, we're clear about $15 an hour. In the Democratic platform, we finally said death penalty should be abolished in the United States.
On the federal level.
I understand, but that's what we can do.
Okay.
That's what the platform is. It's about the federal platform. But we did put that in the platform. That's a reversal of policy that we've had before. Look, Daddy, I've worked, finally. Do you know how hard it is to work with Democrats to get them to be pro-immigrant? Juan knows, Amy knows, I've been taken away from the White House on numerous occasions, arrested because of the deportations under the Barack Obama administration. Now we have enshrined in that platform that says that even when a refugee from Central America comes forward, Democrats say they should have a lawyer, not just the drug traffickers, the murderers and the rapists and those involved in human trafficking. When they get before the court, they're guaranteed a lawyer, but their victims aren't guaranteed a lawyer. It is now enshrined in that platform. There are many things that you and I together have really spent our life trying to improve in America. And I just want to end with this comment. I've always known Black Lives Matter. I've always known that. I would not be a member of Congress if black blood had not been spilled in the 60s to give me the civil rights and the voting rights that have allowed me to grab that microphone and to be a member of Congress. We can come together, immigrants. Man, my daughters, they have so many more rights today, and I want to make sure they keep their dirty, filthy hands off of Planned Parenthood and that we don't have somebody on the Supreme Court that's going to turn the clock around. I remember in 1986, I voted for the gay rights ordinance. It couldn't pass the city council. A gay rights ordinance, all it said was, oh, you can't discriminate against gay people. Now we have marriage equality spoken about from the Congress of the United States. So I'm thankful to Bernie Sanders, and there was so much joy in my heart when I watched him, because I know how difficult it must have been for him to go yesterday and to say we closed the nomination and to endorse Hillary Clinton. But that's leadership and that's healing, because Donald Trump is a monster who says he's going to round up 11 million undocumented workers in this country, deport them, and then build a wall so they can never come back. That's something that we need to respect.
I'd like to make a comparison.
I don't think we have a point that we're arguing. No. There's no point of argument about this. We've all been in with struggles throughout our lives, and all been in part of movements throughout our lives, you know. And so the point is that I'm just saying, as Dr. King said, where do we go from here? community or chaos. And I'm certainly moving toward community, but he understood clearly that the axis that we had to deal was with racism, we had to deal with militarism, and we had to deal with materialism. That's clear. I live in a city that I was born, I love, I'm born and raised there. I walk out of my house and I see homeless people in San Francisco. I walk out of my house and the working class people who lived on my block when I bought my house over 40 years ago don't live there anymore because they've been moved out of the city and pushed aside. I've watched people who are part of the informal economy because they can't be part of the formal economy because jobs are left here. Now, you can't reverse what has been done in terms of trade agreements and such else. But there's some way in which governance has to play a role in really affecting people's lives. We talk about the middle class. We talk about the working class. We don't talk about those people who are unemployed. We don't talk about those people who have left the system. We don't talk about those people who go to... I've been to Soledad. I've been to Tracy. I've been to Quentin. I've been to city jails everywhere throughout my life to talk to people and say that maybe this is the moment. But I know that at the same time, we got to fight. And simply the election of a woman, the election of a president,
we got a few minutes.
Is not the end of the story.
We got a few minutes left, and I just want to, Danny, you say a lot of us have been around now for years and dealing with the struggles, and a lot of the young people don't understand the historical legacy upon which they stand right now. Yeah. When Jesse Jackson ran, when McCarthy ran, when all these other folks sought to get the Democratic Party moving in a more progressive and radical direction. Yeah. But I'm also reminded that in 1964, when Lyndon Johnson, who was a conservative, who was a centrist in the Democratic Party, won the election against Barry Goldwater and won the House and the Senate, for a few years, we had the most progressive legislation in American history. Medicare, Medicaid, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Voting Rights Act, because there was a movement that was pushing a centrist president who ended up with the most liberal domestic policy, obviously, since FDR.
The people were moving him. At the same time,
were moving him,
right, exactly. Expanded war in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. So what did we give up in that process? Right. In fact, it was the Mississippi Democratic Freedom Party in 1964 who tried to unseat the Democratic Party in Mississippi, who came out on that platform against the war in Vietnam, 1964. Right. So all of that, we know that. At the same time, we, in some sense, were seduced to say, in the program, yes, civil rights, but what about the other issues? What about the issues externally in this country, which has been, we talk about, and this is part of it. You were the only country to lose a war that provides the narrative for the war. Right. That's right, we're the only country. You know, we lost between 2 and 3 million Vietnamese, which we never heard about.
I think if we think of this nomination and this election as the end, then Danny's absolutely right.
Yeah,
but Danny, we're going to continue to fight tomorrow. I mean, I got to Congress in 1993, and I said no to the North American Free Trade Agreement. And my congressional district was majority Mexican, and they really thought it was a good idea. Today, we all know, because of our experience, it was a wise vote to vote against the North. I haven't voted for a free trade agreement since I've been in Congress for 24 years. And there are Democrats that are going to stand up for working men and women. I've marched, I've picketed, I've gone to jail. So have you. Together, we need to take on this threat of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is a threat to the Latino community, to the black community, to the gay community, to women and their rights. He is a monster that we need to defeat next November. And you're right, we haven't resolved all of the problems. We haven't all come together and really focused laser on every issue that may be important to us all. But I think there is this huge area in which your work and the work of progressives can come together. And we need to come together in November, because if we don't, I mean, I'm really scared of what
this is a unity moment right here. Thank you, Danny. Thank you.
I respect it so much.
Thank you, brother.
Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, very close to the Clintons. just said to Politico that, what did he say? He believes Hillary Clinton would support the Trans-Pacific Partnership if she's elected president. He said, yes, listen, she was in support of it. There were specific things in it she wants fixed, but she would support it. Here you have hundreds of signs all over this Democratic convention floor, people holding up the ban TPP sign.
And don't forget that in 2008, both Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton said they were going to oppose the Colombia Free Trade Agreement, but then once they got into office, they backed it, both of them.
Come on, let's be real about this. When Bill Clinton was elected president of the United States, he brought us NAFTA, right? A Democratic president. Where'd they get most of the votes for the North American Free Trade Agreement? Certainly not from Democrats.
Yeah.
They got it from Republicans. Barack Obama has TPP. Where's he getting most of the votes? From Republicans. They oppose. If we were all dying of thirst and Barack Obama could make it rain and bring us water, they'd rather die of thirst. But they sure do support his free trade agreement. That's what Republicans will do. So look, do we have internal issues in our own party that we need to deal and grapple with? Absolutely. That's why I like to see independent Democrats in our party make sure that we challenge our own. I'm going to vote against the TPP. I know the vast majority of Democrats are going to do that.
I want to thank you both for being with us. I know you have to go give a talk. There's a lot of stuff happening at this convention. But Danny Glover, I hope you're going to be staying with us in our second hour. Congressmember Luis Gutiérrez of Illinois, actor Danny Glover. That does it for our show.